The prospect of time loops and closed time-like curves raises profound existential questions. If an individual could experience a loop, reliving the same events repeatedly, how would this impact their sense of self, agency, and purpose? Time travel narratives often explore the psychological and existential dimensions of being caught in a temporal loop, inviting audiences to reflect on the nature of existence.
What you think as 100 years later is nothing, just a moment later. So maybe just a moment later he came back, but you think he came back 500 years later. In his experience, he just turned around and came back. But in your experience, it's 500 years later.
Before we talk about time travel in detail, let's first watch Sadhguru's video.
Is time travel possible? Particularly when you hear that Babaji has been living for 1,000 years in Himalayas and so on.
Somebody said something about Babaji way back. Now everybody started talking about him, they started making movies about him, everybody started seeing him everywhere. The reason why I always refrain from speaking of anything that is not yet in people's experience is because people have no hold or no control over their imagination. They will become very hallucinatory. 90% of the religion has become hallucinatory because people have no control over their imagination, isn't it? The most stupid will see it first. The intelligent will sit there and wonder what the hell is happening. But the most idiotic people will see the angels and gods and everything instantly. Yes or no? Yes or no? Is this the reality or no? Simply because they have no hold over their imagination, it just flies. Immediately they start seeing, they're not lying, they start seeing because they have no control over their imagination. So, I don't want to speak about Babaji as such because too much has happened in his name but is such a thing possible? There have been many yogis in the past who still are in some ways. They retain the subtlest part of their body intact and just let it be. Whenever they feel it's necessary, they are capable of recreating their old bodies. This is called as nirmanakayas. Such people are known as nirmanakayas who recreate their own body. Gautama, the Buddha, is supposed to be one of the nirmanakayas. There are many others who recreate their own body as it was then, a youthful body as they liked it. Maybe this is 100 years later, 1,000 years later, whatever number of years, because number of years is not at all the issue. What you call as time is, for this body, one kind of time, for another body, another kind of time, isn't it? See, for your body, 10 years means this much, 20 years means that much, 30 years means this much, 70 years means that much, it's like this. Suppose you take a dog, your 1 year, maybe 15 years for him, in his experience, isn't it? If you take an insect, maybe your 1 day is 50 years for him, because in 2 days he'll be gone. So the experience of time and the way life experiences time is very different. In the life of this planet, 100 years may be just a second, we don't know the calculation, but it is very small, isn't it? So this is not just from human perspective. It is not about comparing everything to our lifetime and coming to it. Even in the perspective of that creature's life, It is so. Maybe not the same way as we calculate, but it's different in its perspective. So once you cross the limitations of the actual physicality and the logical mind, time is not an issue. Even now you will see, right now 21 minutes of sitting there for Shambhavi, this is hurting, that is hurting, everything is hurting. What is not hurting? Everything is hurting. You will see, once you get into a certain state of experience within you, you sit there. If you sit there for 1 hour or 2 hours, it feels like a minute. Time has always been a relative experience. Even in your life, in normal process of life itself, on a particular day you're very happy. 24 hours just passed off like that, isn't it? Another day you're unhappy. 24 hours feels like a year, isn't it? So time is always a relative experience. As your energies get more intense, you will see time just flies faster and faster. If you're in a very intense state, 24 hours feels like just a minute, just goes. I think they were just playing that 2004 events. You see what's packed into 1 year? That's not all of it. So, because when you live intensely within yourself, 1 year just goes like a whiz, you don't know what's happening. Before you turn around and see, years are just gone because you live intensely. As you become more and more intense in your experience, you will see time goes off like this. So once you have dropped your physical body, the earthy body that you picked up from the planet, now suddenly time is not an issue. What you think as 100 years later is nothing, just a moment later. So maybe just a moment later he came back, but you think he came back 500 years later. In his experience, he just turned around and came back. But in your experience, it's 500 years later. So, the more I talk about it, the more nonsensical it'll become. Because there is a point beyond which you cannot speak logically. Today, do you know, modern science is talking about fuzzy logic? Fuzzy logic means no logic, but they're unwilling to admit that they're becoming illogical. It's a shame for a scientist to be illogical. So they're discovering new words and they're saying it's fuzzy logic. If it's fuzzy, it's not logic, isn't it? So, if we speak any more on this, we'll become fuzzy.
Time travel is a fascinating concept that has captivated the human imagination for centuries. While time travel remains purely speculative and theoretical in the realm of physics, it has been a popular theme in science fiction literature, movies, and discussions about the nature of time itself. In this exploration, we will delve into the various theories and ideas surrounding time travel, both in the context of scientific hypothesis and imaginative storytelling. Quantum mechanics and time travel. While the implications of quantum mechanics on time travel are still a subject of debate, certain quantum phenomena are intriguing in this context. The concept of quantum entanglement, where particles become interconnected regardless of distance between them, raises questions about instantaneous communication across time and space. Some physicists explore the idea that manipulating entangled particles could potentially allow for communication or information transfer that transcends traditional temporal constraints. Cosmic strings. Cosmic strings are theoretical one-dimensional objects that may exist in the fabric of space-time. These structures could create gravitational effects capable of distorting space-time in a way that might enable time travel. While the existence of cosmic strings remains speculative, their study within the framework of theoretical physics introduces another avenue for exploring the possibility of traversable paths through space-time. Closed time-like curves. Closed time-like curves are paths through space-time that, if they exist, would allow an object or observer to loop back to a previous point in time. The concept of CTCs, is closely associated with the study of rotating black holes, known as Kerr black holes, and the potential for these rotating objects to create regions of space-time conducive to time travel. However, the feasibility and stability of CTCs remain unresolved issues within the scientific community. Paradoxes and challenges. Temporal mechanics and parallel universes. The idea of parallel universes, stemming from quantum mechanics and cosmology, proposes that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually occurs in a separate universe. This concept is often invoked to address time travel paradoxes, suggesting that altering the past creates a divergent timeline in a parallel universe rather than modifying the existing one. This perspective aligns with the multiverse hypothesis and introduces the idea of a vast interconnected web of alternative realities. Hawking's chronology protection conjecture. Proposed by physicist Stephen Hawking, the chronology protection conjecture posits that the law of physics conspire to prevent the formation of time loops or closed time-like curves. According to this idea, as an object or particle approaches a configuration that could lead to time travel, physical forces would intervene to avoid the creation of paradoxes. While this conjecture is not universally accepted, it undergoes the challenges and complexities associated with the theoretical framework of time travel. Time travel in popular culture. Temporal mechanics in fiction. Science fiction literature and media often explores diverse theories of time travel, presenting fictional mechanisms and rules that may deviate from established scientific principles. From the TARDIS in Doctor Who to the intricacies of time loops in Groundhog Day, these fictional portrayals contribute to the popular understanding of time travel and inspire creative interpretation of its potential consequences. Temporal anomalies and narrative complexity. In storytelling, time travel serves as a powerful narrative device, allowing creators to explore complex themes such as identity, density, and the consequences of choice. Narratives like Looper and Primer delve into the intricacies of causality and the non-linear nature of time, challenging audiences to navigate timelines that unfold in unconventional and thought-provoking ways. Ethical and philosophical implications. Temporal responsibility and butterfly effect. The butterfly effect, a concept derived from chaos theory, suggests that small changes in one part of a system can lead to a significant and unpredictable consequences elsewhere. In the context of time travel, this notion underscores the ethical responsibilities associated with altering the past. Characters in time travel narratives often grapple with the unintended and cascading effects of seemingly inconsequential actions, highlighting the moral implications of temporal intervention. Temporal loops and existential questions. The prospect of time loops and closed time-like curves raises profound existential questions. If an individual could experience a loop reliving the same events repeatedly, how would this impact their sense of self, agency, and purpose? Time travel narratives often explore the psychological and existential dimensions of being caught in a temporal loop, inviting audiences to reflect on the nature of existence and personal growth. Current scientific perspectives. Quantum entanglement experiments. Ongoing experiments in quantum entanglement aim to explore the entangled nature of particles and the potential for instantaneous communication. While these experiments do not directly demonstrate time travel, they contribute to our understanding of quantum phenomena and the interconnectedness of particles across space-time. Experimental time dilation. Particle demonstrations of time dilation, as predicted by Einstein's theories of relativity, continue to be a focus of experimental physics. Precise atomic clocks on fast-moving airplanes or satellites in orbit experience measurable time dilation compared to clocks at rest, providing empirical support for the relativistic effects of velocity on time. Future prospects and challenges. Unified theories and quantum gravity. The search for a unified theory that combines quantum mechanics and general relativity, often referred to as a theory of quantum gravity, is a key frontier in theoretical physics. Such a theory could provide a more comprehensive understanding of the nature of space-time, potentially addressing the challenges and paradoxes associated with time travel. Advanced technological possibilities. The development of advanced technologies, such as those associated with quantum computing and quantum communication, may open new avenues for exploring the manipulation of space-time. While these technologies are currently in their infancy, they represent areas of ongoing research that could influence our understanding of fundamental aspects of time. In conclusion, the exploration of time travel extends beyond theoretical physics and delves into the realms of philosophy, ethics, and creative expression. While theoretical frameworks provide a foundation for contemplating the feasibility of time travel, the challenges and paradoxes associated with the concept continue to stimulate scientific inquiry and imaginative storytelling. As scientific understanding advances and technological capabilities expand, the mystery surrounding time travel will likely persist, requiring further exploration and contemplation across diverse disciplines.